The door slammed so hard the windows rattled. Emily's suitcase thudded against the wall. She didn't even look at me as she dialed her ex-husband on speaker, her voice dripping with glee. "Yeah, Greg, I'm out. Pick me up in 20. Don't be late, I'm ready for the best month of my life." She winked at our daughter, Madison, who smirked behind her phone and tossed her mother a high five. They acted like I didn't exist, like I was just part of the furniture they couldn't wait to leave behind. I wasn't supposed to be home that Friday. Emily made sure of it, told me her girls' night would go late, asked if I could sleep at my brother's place. But I came back early, and the scene I walked into shattered everything. My wife, bags packed, lipstick fresh, the scent of cheap wine filling the air. And Madison, egging her on, whispering, "You deserve it, Mom. Dad's so clueless, he won't know a thing. Go live." For one frozen second, I didn't breathe. Emily spun around, eyes wide, caught. But she just shrugged. "Oh, didn't expect you. I'm leaving for a month. Greg's taking me somewhere you could never afford. Don't wait up, Will." The way she said my name made my skin crawl. The last bitch. My own daughter's eyes were cold as ice, a stranger's gaze. I didn't shout. I didn't plead. All that drama? That's what Emily wanted. Instead, I reached into my jacket and slid a thick yellow envelope across the table. "You forgot something," I said quietly. Emily rolled her eyes and opened it. She barely read 2 lines before her face went pale. Inside was everything: hotel receipts, pictures, even screenshots of her chats with Greg, with Madison helping her lie, helping her cheat, making a fool out of me. Emily's jaw trembled. "This is insane. You spied on me? You can't do this, Will, this isn't what it looks like." She turned to Madison for backup, but our daughter just looked away, cheeks suddenly pink. I stood silent. Emily exploded, voice shaking the windows. "What, you want to ruin my life? Over a little fun? You never gave me what I wanted, Will. Greg did. Madison gets it. You're just boring." She spat the word like poison. That's when I realized the real betrayal. Not just Emily's games, but Madison's too. They both wanted me gone, out of their way. Emily for her month-long getaway, Madison for the freedom to do whatever she wanted with no father around. I was just an obstacle, so they made me disappear. But not this time. "I know everything," I said, voice flat. "You're done lying. You're both done using me." Emily tried to push past me, suitcase dragging, but I stepped aside and watched her storm out the door. Madison slammed her phone down, tears threatening. "Dad, why do you have to ruin everything?" My heart was steel. "No, Madison. I'm just getting started." Emily's ex's car pulled up, engine running, lights blazing. She tossed her hair, climbed in without looking back, and was gone. Madison fled upstairs, door slamming. And me? I sat on the couch, popcorn in hand, and called my lawyer. This was the night it all broke, the night my wife and daughter made their choice. But they never expected I'd fight back. And what came next? That was only the beginning. I barely slept that night. The house was too quiet without Emily's fake laughter and Madison's music thumping through the walls. Every sound felt sharp. I sat in the dark, replaying their words in my mind, Emily's smug "don't wait up" and Madison's cold smirk. If I'd ever doubted what they thought of me, that night erased it all. But instead of drowning in self-pity, I started making moves. I called my friend and lawyer, Brad, one of the few people left I could trust. He picked up before the second ring. "Will? You sound like hell, man. What happened?" I didn't hold back. "She's gone, Brad. Emily took off with her ex. Madison helped her set it up. I've got proof, chats, receipts, everything. I want her out. I want my life back." Brad didn't ask for details. "Bring me everything. Tomorrow morning." We'll burn her to the ground. For the first time in weeks, I almost smiled. Maybe I'd been blind, but now I was wide awake. By sunrise, the neighborhood was buzzing. Emily's vanishing act didn't go unnoticed. Mrs. Patterson next door, the one who always watched through her curtains, texted me. "Are you okay? Saw Emily leave last night. Let me know if you need anything." I ignored it. Pity was the last thing I wanted. Madison finally came downstairs around noon. Eyes puffy, still in pajamas. She looked at me like she wanted to scream or cry, maybe both. "Dad, can we just talk? This isn't what you think." I didn't flinch. "Really? Because it looks like you helped your mom stab me in the back. You knew everything. You lied for her." She hesitated, tears gathering, but I saw right through her. "Mom said you'd never understand. She said you're too strict, too boring, always working, never fun. Greg makes her feel alive." That stung. I'd worked overtime, taken extra shifts, done everything to give this family a good life. For what? To be left out like yesterday's trash. Madison tried to grab my hand. "Dad, please. Don't make this worse." But I pulled away. "You made your choice, Madison. Now you live with it." I left her sobbing at the table. No more lectures, no more begging. It was time to stop talking and start acting. Brad's office was a fortress, dark wood, stacks of case files, the scent of strong coffee. I handed him the envelope. He flipped through the contents, whistling low. You weren't kidding. She was planning this for months. We got to work, emergency divorce filings, freezing joint accounts, locking down my assets. Brad moved like a machine. Emily's good, but she's not smarter than us. With this evidence, you'll get the house, most of your savings, and probably custody. Madison's almost 18, but you've got leverage. Don't give an inch. My phone buzzed. A new message from Emily. You're a monster. How could you do this to me and your daughter? You think you're winning? Just wait. No apology. No shame. Just threats. I turned to Brad. What if she tries to take Madison away? He shrugged. Let her try. With those chats, she'll lose in court. Besides, Madison's old enough to decide. She might surprise you. I left the office feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time, control. Emily and Madison thought they'd broken me. Instead, they'd woken up someone they'd never met before. I wasn't just fighting for revenge. I was fighting for my dignity, my future. When I got home, Madison was gone. Left a note. Staying at Megan's. Need space. Don't call. Perfect. The battlefield was empty, and now I could set my own traps. The next move was mine. The next 48 hours felt like a fever dream, part rage, part adrenaline, part cold strategy. I started clearing out the house, not just Emily's things, but the memories too. Wedding photos, old gifts, her designer shoes lined up by the door as if she might come waltzing back in with her fake laugh and expect everything to be forgiven. Not this time. I called a locksmith. Changed every lock on every door. Emily would return to a home she couldn't enter, not without my permission. That thought kept me moving, kept me sane. For the first time in years, I blasted my own music through the speakers, none of her carefully curated playlists, just raw, angry guitars echoing through the empty rooms. By Monday morning, Emily's friends started circling like vultures. First it was a text from her best friend, Jessica. She's heartbroken, Will. She needs somewhere to go. Don't be cruel. Cruel? They thought I was cruel? No, Emily wrote that script herself. Then my phone started buzzing with unknown numbers. Her ex, Greg, even tried calling. I let it ring out every time. I imagined him sitting in his car, smirking, thinking he'd finally won. He was about to find out just how wrong he was. I worked with Brad to send Emily a formal notice. Her access to our accounts was frozen, her phone plan cancelled, her name off every credit card. I'd even arranged for her car, the one I paid for, to be towed from Greg's driveway. She could explain that little surprise when the tow truck showed up and took her right away while she was still in her robe. By Tuesday night, I was ready for the next phase. I didn't want to just react, I wanted to expose every secret, every dirty detail. That meant digging through our home Wi-Fi history, old iCloud backups, even the GPS on her car. I found more than I bargained for: late-night trips to hotel bars, receipts for fancy dinners with Greg, and voice messages that made my skin crawl. But the real shocker was Madison's involvement. I discovered she wasn't just covering for Emily, she was encouraging her. Messages like, "Just lie to Dad, he believes everything. You deserve better. He's boring." That betrayal hit harder than anything Emily had done. My own daughter, brainwashed or not, was an active player in this game. It was time to let the truth hit daylight. I printed everything, organized it in a thick binder: dates, screenshots, emails, Madison's texts, the works. If Emily tried to play the victim in court, I'd bury her in evidence. The house felt empty, almost peaceful. I sat on the couch, binder on my lap, as my phone lit up again. It was Madison. No apology, just, "Are you happy now? Mom's crying, Greg's freaking out. Why do you have to ruin everything?" I replied only once: "Actions have consequences, Madison. You picked your side." The next day, Emily tried to get back into the house. I watched through the window as she pounded on the door, mascara running, her suitcase at her feet. She screamed into the Ring camera, "You can't do this to me. I'm your wife." I buzzed the intercom and kept my voice ice cold: "Not anymore. You're trespassing. Go cry to Greg." She staggered away, defeated. That night, Brad called. "She's lawyered up. They're going to come at you hard, expect dirty tricks. But don't worry, Will. We've got enough dirt to bury them." I leaned back, a twisted grin spreading across my face. For once, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like a man who'd finally taken back his life. But I knew one thing: Emily and Madison weren't finished. And neither was I. I should have known Emily wouldn't go down quietly. That woman thrived on drama. The next morning, as I left for work, 2 police cruisers pulled up outside. The neighbors gathered at their windows like it was the main event. An officer approached, all business. "William Parker?" "That's me," I said, steady. "We've had a report of domestic disturbance. Mrs. Parker claims you threatened her and your daughter, refused to let them inside, and took her belongings by force." I laughed. Not a chuckle, a hard, bitter sound. Emily had gone nuclear, dialing 911 and painting herself as the wounded saint. "You want to see the security footage?" I said. "Or maybe the divorce petition? I've got a binder full of evidence and a lawyer on speed dial." The officers' faces didn't change, but I could tell they'd seen this before. 20 minutes later, they left with nothing more than a note in their logbook. But Emily's plan was clear: if she couldn't win by playing the victim, she'd try to make me look like the villain. Typical. Madison wasn't home. I suspected she was hiding out at her friend Megan's, avoiding the fallout. Brad called mid-morning, his tone tense. "Emily's lawyer wants a temporary restraining order against you. They're claiming you're dangerous, unfit, and emotionally abusive. Don't talk to her, don't text Madison. Let me handle everything." I agreed. There was nothing left to say, anyway. That night, the house was silent except for the sound of my own footsteps. I wandered from room to room, seeing Emily's fingerprints everywhere, her perfume on the bedsheets, the framed wedding photo still on the mantel. I grabbed the photo, stared at it, then tossed it in the trash. It felt good. Cleansing. But it wasn't enough. I wanted them both to feel what I'd felt: the humiliation, the rage, the emptiness. Emily's birthday was coming up. She'd already booked her second honeymoon with Greg, using money she'd siphoned out of our accounts weeks before I froze them. But what she didn't know was that I'd cancelled every last reservation in her name, sent a polite but firm email to every hotel and airline, and made sure Greg's credit card would get declined at check-in. Brad texted me that evening. Heard from Greg's ex-wife. She wants to help. Says Emily and Greg have been scheming for years. She's got dirt. Suddenly. I had an ally, someone who hated Greg as much as I hated Emily. We met at a dive bar, away from prying eyes. Greg's ex, a no-nonsense woman named Lisa, slid into the booth with a stack of folders. They think they're smarter than everyone. They've been at this since before you and Emily even married, Will. I kept receipts. You want them? I nodded, jaw clenched. I want everything. She handed me the files, emails, screenshots, secret accounts. I nearly choked on my beer as I read Greg's texts to Emily. Once we bleed will dry, you're free. Madison's on board. He'll never see it coming. Lisa slammed her glass down. Get them, Will. Destroy them. On the drive home, I felt a new fire in my gut. I wasn't just fighting for myself now. Emily and Greg had made this a war, and I was done playing defense. The next morning, I faxed every page of Lisa's evidence to Brad. He whistled when he got it. She's finished. You want to go public with this? You want her reputation ruined? My answer was cold. Let her burn. Emily wanted a war. I was finally ready to finish it. 2 days later, the real game began. Brad filed the evidence with the court, attaching every screenshot, every dirty secret Lisa had unearthed. We didn't just want a divorce. We wanted everything on the record. Emily, who loved her reputation almost as much as her own reflection, was about to face her worst nightmare. Everyone would know exactly what she'd become. I didn't warn her. I let her walk right into the trap. Emily showed up to court with her lawyer and her practiced, innocent tears. She even wore the same white dress from our wedding, probably thought the judge would buy her act. But when Brad started reading out the texts, playing the voice messages, and handing over bank statements, I saw the color drain from her face. Her hands shook. Greg was in the hallway, pacing, unable to look anyone in the eye. And then came the moment that broke her. The judge looked at Madison's messages, the ones encouraging Emily, the ones mocking me. Just lie, Mom. He's a loser. We can do better. The judge's frown said it all. Emily tried to object, but Brad was merciless. Your Honor, this is a woman who plotted for months to destroy her husband emotionally and financially, with her daughter as an accomplice. She stole, she lied, and she manipulated. The only thing Mr. Parker is guilty of is trusting the wrong people. The judge didn't need much convincing. All joint assets are to be frozen immediately. Custody, pending further review, remains with Mr. Parker. Mrs. Parker, you are not to contact your husband or access any family funds until this court gives further instruction. And I suggest you advise your friend Mr. Gibson to seek his own legal counsel. Emily tried to play the victim, sobbing into her lawyer's sleeve, but the court was done with her. Madison stormed out of the courtroom, slamming the door so hard the clerk flinched. Greg vanished before the judge even finished speaking. Outside, news had spread like wildfire. Emily's friends turned cold, some blocked her, others sent me awkward, apologetic messages. Didn't know she was like that. Sorry, Will. The group chats Madison ruled over at school blew up, everyone screenshotting her texts, everyone whispering about how she'd ruined her own family. Karma, instant and savage. That night, as I sat in the kitchen, finally able to breathe, my phone buzzed. Madison, desperate now. Dad, please. I messed up. I was stupid. Mom told me you didn't love us. I just wanted her to be happy. Can I come home? I stared at the message for a long time. She'd betrayed me, cheered her mother on, laughed at my pain. But she was still my daughter. I replied, cold but honest. You need to learn what real consequences feel like. You can come home when you're ready to apologize, not before. Minutes later, Emily called, her number I hadn't yet blocked. She was hysterical. You ruined me. I have nothing. Greg's gone, Madison won't speak to me, I'm sleeping at a motel. How could you do this? I let her scream. When she finally went quiet, I said, you did this to yourself, Emily. You made every choice. You betrayed us both. Enjoy the freedom you wanted. Then I hung up. No more arguments. No more pain. I felt lighter than I had in years. By midnight, the house was quiet. The old wedding photo was gone, the locks had been changed, the past incinerated. I looked in the mirror and saw someone I hadn't recognized in a long time, a man with nothing left to lose, and nothing holding him back. But I knew it wasn't over yet. Emily had lost her battle, but she wasn't the type to accept defeat. And Madison, well, she still had lessons to learn. Days passed and the aftershocks rippled through every part of my life. The silence at home was different now, no longer empty, but peaceful, like the storm had finally moved on. Emily's world was shrinking fast. I started getting calls from her friends who used to treat me like I was invisible. Now, their voices were all whispers and apologies. Jessica, her supposed best friend, even confessed, honestly, Will, we all knew something was off. Emily was bragging about Greg for months, just thought you'd never find out. I almost pitied Emily. Almost. But then Brad called with an update, she'd emptied her personal savings, trying to book another trip with Greg. Only this time, Greg's ex-wife Lisa sent a message to both of us. He's cut her off. She's got nothing. Greg found someone else. She's burning bridges everywhere. Emily's dream life was crumbling, and for the first time, I felt something close to satisfaction. Madison, on the other hand, was caught between two worlds. I heard through the grapevine that her friends had started ditching her, sick of her drama and backstabbing. School wasn't a safe haven anymore. Screenshots of her advice to her mom were circulating in group chats. Even Megan, her closest friend, stopped answering her calls. She showed up on my doorstep a week after the court date, eyes red, shoulders hunched, a suitcase dragging behind her. She looked more like a lost child than the snarky, all-knowing teen from before. Dad, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Mom lied to me. She said you hated us, that you'd already checked out. I didn't know how bad it was until everyone turned on me. Please, can I just come home? I let her in, but I wasn't about to let her off the hook. You can stay. But you're going to therapy. You're apologizing for every lie you told, to me and to yourself. That's the price for a second chance. She nodded, silent tears running down her face. I could tell she hated every second of humility, but she needed it. Maybe we both did. Emily, meanwhile, doubled down. She started spreading rumors, posting on Facebook, messaging distant relatives, painting herself as the abandoned wife whose husband stole everything and turned her daughter against her. I didn't take the bait. The truth had already outpaced her lies. But then came the twist I didn't see coming. Lisa, Greg's ex, called again. You should know, Emily's trying to get Greg back. She's stalking his new girlfriend, showing up at his work, begging for another chance. Greg's threatened a restraining order. It would have been funny if it weren't so pathetic. One evening, Madison came downstairs holding her phone, voice trembling. Mom keeps calling. She wants me to leave you, says you're brainwashing me. She even told my friends at school that you hit her. Dad, I swear, I never said anything. I put a hand on her shoulder. I know. You're not her pawn anymore. Let her dig her own grave. But Emily wasn't finished. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of texts from unknown numbers, all saying the same thing. How could you throw your wife out? You're a monster. Bring your family back together. She'd gone public, airing our business in the town Facebook group, spinning stories to anyone who'd listen. Brad advised me to stay quiet, stay smart. People see through drama, Will. The more she screams, the more desperate she looks. Don't engage. The court's on your side. I took his advice, focusing on work, rebuilding my routine, and making sure Madison stuck to hers. I made her cook dinner with me, forced us to talk, made her sit through therapy even when she glared at me in silence. Some nights she screamed, some nights she cried. But every day she grew a little less like Emily and a little more like someone I could respect. The world Emily built on lies was crashing down. And as she tried to claw her way out, the more she thrashed, the deeper she sank. But I knew Emily, she wasn't done yet. There was one more play left, and I had to be ready. Emily always loved attention. She thrived on chaos, the center of every drama. But now that she was shut out, her desperation reached new heights. The threats got uglier. One evening, while Madison and I were finishing dinner, the doorbell rang. I expected a delivery, maybe one of Emily's friends come to plead her case. Instead, 2 social workers stood on my porch, badges out. We received a report of domestic violence in this household. We need to speak with your daughter, sir. I almost laughed. Emily's last grenade, if she couldn't destroy me in court, she'd try to ruin me in the eyes of the state. But I played it straight, invited them in, showed them every room. Madison was calm and direct. My mom is lying. She's trying to punish my dad for divorcing her. I want to stay here. I'm safe. The social workers left empty-handed, but I knew Emily wasn't giving up. She was unraveling. Later that night, my phone buzzed with another anonymous message. If you don't let me see Madison, I'll tell everyone what you did. I'll ruin you, Will. For a moment, I almost pitied her. But pity is for fools. Instead, I forwarded the message to Brad and blocked her number for good. It didn't end there. Emily started showing up at Madison's school, trying to catch her outside classes. Security eventually banned her from the premises. She sent Madison gifts, expensive headphones, a new phone, gift cards with notes that read, "Run away with me, we can start over, just the 2 of us." Madison showed me every one. She doesn't get it, Dad. She never stops lying. She never says sorry. The final straw came a week later. I came home late from work, only to find Emily parked in front of our house, standing on the sidewalk, screaming into her phone. The neighbors stared from their windows. She spotted me and started hurling insults at the top of her lungs. You ruined my life. You brainwashed Madison. You're nothing, Will. You hear me? Nothing. Madison stood behind me, pale and shaking. I dialed the police. By the time they arrived, Emily was a sobbing wreck, begging them to make me let her in. But the officers just shook their heads and led her away. One pulled me aside. She needs help, sir. You're doing the right thing. Inside, Madison crumpled onto the couch, tears streaming. Why is she like this? Why can't she just let go? I sat beside her, exhaustion settling in my bones. Because people like your mom can't accept blame. They destroy everything around them rather than face their own mistakes. But that's not your burden anymore. You're free, Madison. We both are. After that night, things began to change. Emily was served with a restraining order. Her lawyer dropped her after she refused to stop harassing us. Her friends, those who hadn't already abandoned her, finally saw her for what she was. Madison was still healing. Therapy wasn't a magic fix, but each session chipped away at her anger and guilt. She started apologizing, not just to me but to herself. Her grades went up, she found a part-time job, and for the first time in months, she laughed, really laughed, not the cruel snicker she'd learned from Emily. I found myself letting go, too. The house became a home again, bit by bit. I took up running, started reading in the evenings, even invited Brad and his family over for dinner. Madison helped cook, rolling her eyes but smiling for real. Emily, meanwhile, vanished from our lives. Rumor had it Greg had blocked her, Lisa filed for a full restraining order, and the only messages Emily sent anymore were rambling, unread emails. As spring turned to summer, I realized something: the storm was finally over. But there was one last lesson I needed to share, with Madison, and with myself. The months that followed felt unreal, almost like living someone else's life. There were no more sudden phone calls, no more threats. No more living on edge. The silence at home was clean, not empty. Madison and I started to find a rhythm again, not as father and broken daughter, but as two people rebuilding something better. Some scars take time to heal, and not all of them vanish. Madison still woke up some nights, nightmares tearing through her sleep, whispering apologies to the darkness. I'd sit with her until she calmed, sometimes saying nothing at all. Just being there was enough. She started volunteering at an animal shelter on weekends, and her world got bigger. She made new friends who didn't know about the mess, who only saw her as Madison, the girl with a sharp mind and a second chance. Sometimes I caught her scrolling through old texts, shaking her head at the person she'd become under Emily's influence. She told me once, quietly, "I don't want to be her, Dad. I want to be better." That was the only apology I needed. As for Emily, she faded into rumor. Some said she tried moving in with relatives, but nobody wanted her drama. Others claimed she was bouncing from job to job, never staying long. I didn't track her. The last time I heard her voice was a voicemail I deleted without listening to the end. There was nothing left to say. I'd won the court battle, but more importantly, I'd won my freedom. I kept the house, the savings, and, slowly but surely, my self-respect. For a while, I was angry at myself for ever letting things get so far. But one day, I realized something vital: being betrayed doesn't make you weak. Staying down does. Brad and I celebrated the end of it all with a round of drinks at his favorite bar. "You're not the same guy who walked into my office all those months ago," he told me, raising his glass. "You finally stopped asking, 'Why me?' and started asking, 'What next?' That's what survival looks like." He was right. I started setting real boundaries, not just with women but with everyone. Madison noticed the change first. I was present, sharper, even stubborn sometimes, but no longer afraid to be alone. I also learned how to trust myself again. The hardest lesson wasn't about Emily or Madison. It was about me, what I'd tolerated, what I'd ignored, the warnings I'd waved away in the hope things would just fix themselves. They never do. If you're still watching this, here's the truth: betrayal hurts. It tears you apart and makes you question everything. But it also strips away the illusions. It forces you to see who people really are, and who you can become without them. Don't waste your life begging for respect from someone who feeds on your pain. Don't cling to a toxic past out of fear. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Set your boundary, make your move, and never, ever look back. Madison and I aren't perfect. We argue, we struggle, but we're honest now, painfully honest sometimes. We're not a broken family anymore. We're survivors. And if there's one piece of advice I can leave you with, it's this: never let someone else write the ending to your story. The day I took my life back wasn't when I caught Emily cheating, or when I filed for divorce. It was the day I stopped living for anyone's approval but my own. Now, every sunrise feels earned. Every laugh feels real. And the only thing I regret is not choosing myself sooner.